Hi, I'm Mike, the lead developer of Redwood, a framework built on top of Unreal Engine 5 that helps studios of all sizes create and launch scalable multiplayer games. In this video, we're covering a brief overview of the different features that you're going to see in Redwood when it's fully released. You can see here I have a quick little diagram describing a lot of the different features that we're planning to add to Redwood when it's fully released. First and foremost, we have our gameplay templates. These are code examples and usable stuff that you can use in your project to get started quickly and customize further. We have some full-on templates like an MMORPG that has a properly implemented damage system that we have had a lot of best practices, lessons learned, and kind of get you to the right implementation that helps you build something that is scalable from a gameplay development perspective. We add an inventory and a couple of other systems to help you create that MMORPG of your dreams. We also have match-based sessions, think like a shooter or battle royale, and racing templates that all get you started with those different kinds of modes. They're built. The shooter and battle royale ones are built on top of the Lyra example, but we also have an example that doesn't have Lyra, where it's just the from a bare scratch minimum if you don't want to use Lyra. We have a little trading template that you can add to any of those gameplay templates, whether it's peer-to-peer with player between two different players, like it's a direct trading thing, or you have a marketplace where players can bid for things to buy and sell. We'll have a little example of a cash shop for things that you would like to sell to your players, whether that's cosmetics, features, things like that. We'll have an example for that that's easily dropped into your game. Lyra has a great title screen, so we'll be expanding on top of that as well as having some other options, but primarily looking at for the MMORPG, how do you select a different realm, whether that's a US West 1, US East 2, or Australia, those different realms that are geolocated, and then from there, you have a list of characters to select from and join the game. We'll also have templates for payments. We're currently targeting against Steam items. I think it's called Steam Item Store, uh, Epic Game Store, or if you want to go and use a merchant of record like Xsolla to process your payments there. It all comes with a database, which we use MongoDB as just a document store database. But it's more than just saying, here's the database. It's also providing you modern best practices of how to define the schemas, make it reusable, how do you test those things, and integrating that all the way up through the game down to the database. And how two different databases, one database for the realm, one for the entire game, the title itself. When one player wants to go from one realm to the other realm, how do those two different databases sync up and things like that. We'll show you different user account strategies, whether we'll start with a custom email for the early access, but then later we'll be adding different services that you can integrate with so users can create an account quickly. All of this will, like custom email, will have email verification using SendGrid, or you can bring your own transactional email API if you would like, and you could just bind that in pretty easily. For the MMORPG, we're working on trying to figure out how can we leverage the latest UE5 technology to get you past that like 100 player simultaneous player on a single server with UE5. We see a lot of these cool things with mass crowd through the Matrix demo and things like that, where they had thousands of AI running. Why can't we use that with players? So we're working on making that technology work for MMORPGs so you can get started with a scalable MMO that has more than 100 players. Stay tuned for details on that. MMORPGs have instance servers, whether it's raids or dungeons or things like that. So we have examples of showing the gameplay actual, like, hey, I want to start this dungeon. There's a queue for it. And then when you finally are ready for it, it will launch up that instance server, connect to the realm, tell the play who's coming over to that server, and do all the handshake stuff to send the players over to the instance server. When that raid is done, it'll send them back to the main server with the final results there. We'll have a little quick example of character customization and how you can use that from the game, but also how does that work with the database and how it's stored, reloaded, and things like that. We have a couple of different social features, whether, text chat, that's easy. Voice chat, there's a couple services out there. We'll show you how you can easily integrate those, as well as having examples for guilds and parties, whether, guilds a more persistent group that you're part of, a player is part of, and then parties are what are you playing with right now, the 4 people that you're in voice chat with, doing the quest at hand. So it's just all of this gameplay stuff, but then it's more than that. Redwood helps by showing you how to use build acceleration and distribution when you're creating these large scalable games. There's a lot of lack of documentation out there showing you how, from a studio, how do you grow with your operations to make it so that you can build your games from an automated perspective and test them using unit tests and things like that, and then making sure that your each developer has the engine and things like that. So we kind of help you with that aspect as far as documentation, best practices, things like that, and get you on the right foot there. We also help you with the actual deployment of it. It's just building the game and then it's shipping the game. We give you a Terraform templates that is infrastructure as code. It makes it easy so that you can run a script to automate I want these different resources on AWS and I want them linked up using these virtual networks and things like that. We give you the scripts also that just use those templates, but you can customize them as you see fit, and there will be documentation that helps you step through that process. And as part of that is figuring out how, hey, to get your game to work with these automated things, you need to containerize that. And there's a lot of cool technology out there about containers and then how to use containers with Unreal. We help bridge the gap of making it so it's easy for you to start with something that works and then read the documentation about how to customize it for your use. And then once your game is launched, we're going to provide a slew of monitoring things where you have dashboard, reports, an API if you want to have like a website, a landing page that players can log into and see their stats, or maybe they can chat with players in game from the website or things like that. So you have a little API that you can interface between the shipped game and other services and things like that. We there's a handful of other different things that we'll go over in other videos and as well more in our documentation, but I won't go into each of those for now. And then, as I was mentioning before, how do to use Redwood? It is a custom source of the engine of Unreal Engine, and with many scalable games, you're constantly tweaking the engine as your game needs it for the best performance. How do you build that and then distribute that to your team? Some studios know how to do it, they already have a workflow, and that's great. Other studios, it's still trying to figure out how does it work with their specific source control provider and how to do that easily, cheaply, etc. So we provide documentation for that as well. Down the road, we want to be able to support a model development kit so that your players can create content, user generated content for your game. Extending the life cycle of the game, it's a really powerful metric for extending your game without actually creating a continuous stream of content. So making it easy for you to follow directions, tutorials provided by us to quickly run a script to create that mod development kit, how to limit the resources that they're able to, and how to integrate that into your game. We're looking at how we can how those mods are distributed, whether that's a Redwood powered mod marketplace that you can ship yourself, or Epic has talked about having a thing inside of Epic Game Store for shipping mods. And we also are going to provide a launcher, something that players will be able to download the game, and patch the game when there's updates or see any news or things like that. In popular MMO games, you're going to see all these launchers out there if you're trying to get away from using the built in launchers like Epic Game Store or Steam. So we'll provide an example where you can just customize it as you want and see an actual game using it. And then on top of everything, we're providing a lot of documentation about how to use Redwood. What are the best practices in terms of how to design your infrastructure, how to design your multiplayer experiences, how to prevent things like asset dependency chains as your game grows. All of those lessons learned kind of upfront. Or if you already have a game that's already out there and you're trying to increase your performance and things like that so you can scale out, we provide a slew of documentation there. So that is the Redwood overview of the different features that we're planning for the full release. We're still in development, so if you're interested in getting access to the early access, which will be a limited subset of those features, go ahead and go to redwood.encanta.games and sign up for the early access. We'll be able to send you updates of how progress is going with development, and then we'll work with you and your studio's specific requirements, what your game needs, and how soon you need Redwood, and we'll get you up and running as soon as possible. Stay tuned for more updates of different videos, and that will be it for this one. Thanks.